kind of people are preppers? What drives them? What do they believe? What is their psychology? Who will be the leaders of post-SHTF communities, and who will be the best team players contributing to the safety and security of the group? There are three good reasons to try to understand these things, to try to understand people, especially those who are quite different from you, and especially in potential grid down scenarios. First, if you understand people, you might never agree with them, but you will tend to get along better with them because you understand that, no, they're not crazy. They simply have different motivations, fears, and ego drives from you. The second reason is that you can influence others much more powerfully if you understand their different mindset. Being able to influence others easily rather than have confrontations with them, rather than fighting with them, will be very important should there be a collapse of society, because everybody's going to be so very stressed. Third, in a grid down situation, if you understand the strengths and weaknesses of those around you, then you'll be in a better position to best integrate them into your community and use their talents to the group's best advantage. And that's basically what a good leader does, uses every member of the group's natural abilities in the best way possible for the benefit of all. The Enneagram is a personality typing system that is very valuable for understanding people. Based on the Enneagram, this will be a very quick and dirty look at who will do what in a post-SHTF scenario. The Enneagram says that there are 9 different types of people with 9 different motivations. Most descriptions of the Enneagram start with the 1 and go in order through to the last type, which is the 9. We're going to look at each very, very briefly, but we will look at the numbers out of order because it'll be, I don't know, more fun to look at who is more likely to even be a prepper than not. So any of the types could be a prepper, but some are more likely to be a prepper than others because of their basic ego drive. So let's start with the type most likely to be a prepper, the 6. The 6 is the one I believe most likely to be a serious prepper because the very credo of the 6 is literally be prepared. The 6 is also called the troubleshooter or the guardian. Their worldview is that the world is dangerous, the truth is hidden, and appearances are suspect. Their basic ego fear is of having no support or guidance, of being unable to survive on their own. Their basic drive is to find or create security and support. If someone is, or if their culture is not providing a sense of security and support to them, then the 6 is going to damn well figure out how to provide it for himself if they have to. 6s are the ones who legitimately and mostly accurately see under the surface of things. 6s are the people who are actually looking for the hidden problem, the problem that they know the others, those idiots, those fools, they know that the others don't see, and that they, the 6, has to guard against and has to help others understand how to keep themselves safe. The sixes are the ones who are always thinking about what's coming down the pike, what the problem is that they are going to have to deal with, the thing that the others around them are not seeing. And the six is the one who is most motivated to take protective action against what and who they perceive are their enemies. That is basically, insofar as I can tell, the definition of a prepper. These are the people, both women and men, who prepare for battle and survival. They are also all about rational analysis of the problem that they're looking at. So on average, unless they're in their very unhealthy state, on average, they are not fearful nut jobs. If you hear someone say, I want to know what's really happening under the surface, then you may very well be talking to a six. Sixes secretly want to trust people, but they often find themselves questioning others' motives. And they are not necessarily wrong in this often. Sixes are very hard workers. They keep working until the job is done. Sixes are deeply anxious. They may not show it, but they are anxious about the condition of both the world and their personal safety. And there are two types of sixes. Come on here, Debbie. Debbie just insists on sitting on my lap. The older he gets, the more he just wants to sit on my lap no matter what I'm doing. There are two types of sixes, the phobic six and the counter-phobic six. The phobic six is the basic type that we've been discussing, but sometimes the fear and anxiety is so great in an individual six that they become outwardly quite aggressive in their desire to protect and defend themselves and those they love. A lot of police officers and military people are counterphobic sixes. They look tough and macho and badass on the outside, but all that is driven by a deep internal anxiety about their personal safety. Sixes can often look and often be heroic looking. They can also lead in a way that is very warm and reassuring, a way that makes you feel like you're a part of the team, their team. And sixes can also be quite funny, sometimes in a very ironically humorous way. All of this is the basic six personality. And of course, there's so much more to know about this and every other type. Also, it's good to remember for each type, you have the healthy, unhealthy, and average ranges. Here I'm describing the average range for most people for each type. But bear in mind that working on yourself, knowing yourself, getting over your ego BS can take you, whatever your type is, from an average personality to a healthy type, a healthy personality. With a little bit of attention and a little bit of knowledge, each of us, no matter our type, can become much more emotionally and psychologically healthy, much less ego-driven by the concerns of our individual type. Of course, the unhealthy aspect of each type is the worst of what each type is and can be. And those are the people who are not aware of what drives them. Those are the people who have done no work to understand themselves. And these are the last people that you want around you in a grid down scenario. I'm certified in the Enneagram, and I was trained that it's not really proper to guess a person's Enneagram type, but I'm going to break that rule for a moment because, well, you know, it's just fun to break rules once in a while. I believe that Nate Polson, I believe that's his name, the gentleman who runs the really great YouTube channel, Canadian Prepper. I have learned so much from him. May very well be a pretty healthy 6. He's very balanced in his presentation. He's very good at analysis, which 6s are. He sees what the real problems are under the surface of our society, which is definitely the talent of the 6. If he was building a community after SHTF, I might try to join his circle because he would probably make a very fine leader. He appears to be a classic 6 in that he has that heroic aspect, and 6 women have this heroic Amazon aspect also. This is not restricted just to men. And he is warm and reassuring, and he does make you feel like you could be part of his team. He puts out a very prudent vibe, and I believe, he believes, as Shakespeare says in Hamlet, readiness is all. But he's also very funny, as 6s can be. Occasionally, he does some videos where his humor really comes out, makes me laugh. He is someone to follow. Every 6 is probably a prepper at some level. It's just in their nature. If you're a prepper and you're talking to a 6, you'll be in heaven. If you find yourself in an emergency without a go bag, you are not a 6, but go find a 6, because that man or woman is going to have preps to the max ready to go. Well, come to think of it, though, you probably won't be able to find him because he will have kept his location secret all this time. The 5. The second type of personality most likely to be a prepper is the 5. The credo of the 5 is, I am master of my private world. And the 5 is also called the investigator, the observer, and sometimes the radical. So they can have that radical perspective on life. They're not necessarily conventional. In fact, they can be quite eccentric, but always in a smart way. Their worldview is, I handle life by utter commitment to gathering superior and special knowledge. Doesn't that sound like a prepper? They believe in the Francis Bacon quote, knowledge is power. Their appearance and aspect is often cool and remote, sort of pale and bloodless, dispassionate, sometimes nerdy. They typically come across as unemotional, and their basic ego fear is of being helpless or incapable or overwhelmed. And the 5's focus is on getting enough information and knowledge to avoid that terrible feeling of being helpless. Their basic desire is to be capable and competent, and they feel good about themselves only if they have completely mastered something in advance. And that sounds like a prepper to me. It is possible that, I believe his name is Chris, the gentleman who puts out the great YouTube channel City Prepper, is a 5. I've learned a great deal from him also. And you can see that he has that 5-like, cool, calm, bloodless, dispassionate way of speaking. And he is all about information, like a 5, about charts and matrices. He has a great matrix that I just saw that's quite complex, a matrix to help you personally assess your own individual risk. And that is so 5. I would definitely join Chris's community after SHTF, as I believe that he too would make a very fine leader. He wouldn't let emotions or fear cloud his judgment, and he would make decisions very rationally. 5s tend to gather as much information and understanding about given situations as possible, with the fewest emotional entanglements that they can possibly maintain. And they want to be master of whatever game they're playing. Whatever the game is in life, they want to master their aspect of it. You can generally trust a healthy 5 to be a good leader in an SHTF situation because they are typically not going to let their fear drive them into making decisions, bad decisions. They are going to let the facts drive them, the facts as they understand them. If you have a 5 in your community, the best thing you can do is tap their talent for finding out what no one else knows. The third type of personality that I believe is most likely to be a leader after SHTF is the 8. The 8 is also called the top dog, the alpha, the chief, the leader, the boss, the champion, the challenger. Trump is an 8. The 8's credo is my way or the highway. Their worldview is I am strong, I am in charge, I avenge the weak, and I expose the fools. In a grid down situation, 8s are most likely to rise quickly to the position of leader, whether they're preppers or not, or whether they have any particular prepping skills or abilities or not, because they are the Enneagram's natural leader. They are the natural leaders of life. Their best work setting, and this is what makes them good at leading in an emergency, their best work setting is high risk, high engagement, high energy, big impact. So a grid down emergency is kind of their cup of tea. When they are not healthy, they are loud, excessive, confrontational, reckless. They can be raging bullies. They are insensitive and they can be very vindictive. So the unhealthy 8 could be either a disastrous leader in any setting, and whether it's an emergency or not, and they could be a disastrous team member also. But if the 8 is healthy, they have a sort of the buck stops here take on life. They are high energy sovereigns, willing to take responsibility, willing to be the king, willing to be the queen, willing to be in charge, willing to protect who they see as their people. They're very protective. At their best, their desire is to help who they see as the underdog. If you are a leader of a post-collapse community and an 8 comes to join your group, look for them to try to take over your community pretty quickly. It's just natural to them. They can't help it. To best deal with them, let them have their own area of power within your group. Don't try to micromanage them. They will not be managed. Set clear limits and be prepared for your 8 to test you repeatedly. He wants to be the leader. She wants to be the leader. In an emergency, an 8 leader can be really great if they're healthy, because in those stressful situations, you actually need often a strong leader who knows how to give orders, not someone like a 2 who leads with warm fuzzies, and we'll talk about the 2 in a moment, or a 9 who leads by consensus, and we'll talk about the 9 in a moment. Often in an emergency, there is no time for any type of leadership except the one by fiat, by decree, by order, my way or the highway. Let's just get this done. The 8 approach can be very effective in getting control of an unstable environment where strong force of will is needed to get through something bad. Because they are all about control, the 8 could very well be a prepper, or at least look favorably upon the idea of prepping because they are all about control. They want to control their world, and prepping helps you be in control. The 8 would see it that way. But the fact is, the 8 has such naturally high confidence that many of them might not even worry about prepping. They don't really worry too much about the future. They have very high confidence, and their attitude would be, well, if SHTF happens, I'm going to come out on top. They always think they're going to come out on top. They probably will. The 8s will certainly feel no compunction about taking over your household and your preps and telling you what to do if he can. 8s are absolutely a force of nature. Those are the 3 types most likely to be preppers or to be leaders in an emergency or a grid down situation. But any of the other types can also be preppers if their life experience has taught them that prepping for catastrophe is necessary. The 3. I'm a 3 on the Enneagram, and 3s are very hard workers. They are also called the producer or the achiever because they are all about achievement and success. The 3 prepper is driven to prep because she does not want to be a failure in any setting. The 3's basic drive is to have success in her life so that others will value her, so she can remain part of the community. She feels that she'll only be allowed to remain part of the community or the family if she's specifically valued. And she thinks, well, if I'm a success, they'll value me, then they'll let me stay. She's smart enough to recognize that her society could collapse or at least suffer some form of temporary supply chain collapse or grid down situation. And she specifically, as a 3, does not want to fail in that or any other situation. The 3 who is balanced and healthy would make a good leader after SHTF because they can see clearly in any situation what it is going to take to be successful, whatever that definition of success for that situation is. The 3's credo is just do it. They are the action-oriented people. And it's not that the other types are not action-oriented. Of course, everybody is action-oriented to some degree, but 3's are specifically about taking action to drive towards a goal. The bottom line for the 3 is what's going to be effective, what's going to be efficient, what is going to win here. How's this situation going to be won? They are absolutely goal-oriented, achievers, persistent, they're enthusiastic usually, and they're very well organized. Their worldview is the world is a contest that I could win if I just work very, very hard. 3's are the ones who can take any goal they care about and make it happen in the actual physical world. That's why they're called the producer. 3's produce, 3's achieve. In an SHTF situation, when the goal for either the individual or the team is to be, safe, warm, and dry and fed, the 3 could be the one who has the drive and the will and the know-how to make it happen, no matter the obstacles. 3's cannot abide failure in anything. It's too damaging to their self-esteem. They will just keep working. They'll just keep at it until they are successful at whatever. 3's never give up. 3's are likely to either be preppers or look favorably upon prepping because they would see that as one more tool in their toolbox to a successful life, given all the variables that they know are possible. All right. Let's look at Debbie. Let's look at some of the types that may or may not be preppers and what their talents in a grid down situation requiring preps possibly could be. Let's look at the one. The one, also called the reformer or the idealist. They have a worldview of there is a right way to do anything, and let me teach you what it is. Their credo is 0 defects. These people are extremely principled, so they typically are very trustworthy leaders. But in this particular discussion that we're having about grid down scenarios, societal collapse, what's working against them is the fact that usually they are not at their best in sudden emergencies where things are chaotic, where the basic premises of life and the basic rules are changing fast. And they will be in any SHTF situation. That's the definition of a shit hits the fan situation. The best work setting for the one is where everything is ordered, planned, structured, committed, and everybody's on the same page, and everybody is working to the standards that are expected. Well, obviously, nothing is going to be ordered or planned in a grid down situation, just the opposite. So the typically perfectionistic and rigid one is probably going to have a very tough time in this setting. However, if a one is very healthy and has done a lot of personal work on herself, she can be a great team member because her idea is, I have a mission in life. And if that mission is being part of a team to keep civilization going, then you can count on the one, whether they are a male or female, you can count on the one to do the right thing by the group. If you are the leader of a post-SHTF community, use the ones in your team to organize supplies, to set up guidelines and rules and systems for everyone to follow, because that's what they're really good at. The one could be a prepper if they had had an experience in their past that taught them that doing the right thing included preparing for physical emergencies for their families. Even if they weren't a prepper, ones would tend to look favorably on the idea of prepping because it would fit in with their idea of doing the right thing to keep everyone safe. The two, also called the helper or the guardian angel or the caretaker, could be a very good team member because, as their name suggests, their worldview is I support others. And their credo is, I am needed. To validate themselves, for their egos to validate themselves, twos tend to provide whatever they think is needed, if they can, in any setting. They will be the ones who will see what is needed by others and who will do their best to offer it. They are the best at working with others. They believe in the Zig Ziglar saying, you can have everything you want in life if you will just help others get what they want. Twos are usually generous helpers who bring out the best in others. They're kind, they're nurturing, they're friendly, qualities that would be very important to a tribe of people living off-grid under challenging circumstances. Twos tend to prefer to be the power behind the throne rather than the person on the throne himself. Average twos tend to figure out who the star is or the leader is in any group, and then befriend and help and support that person. If you are leading a community, a healthy 2 supporting you might be really great. A 2 might be a prepper if he feels that this is an important way that he can be of help to his neighbors in an emergency. And 2s will often be the ones who give away all their preps to the needy, leaving themselves with nothing. If your grid down leader is a 2, pay attention, because he might just try to help everyone to his own group's disadvantage. The 4 is also called the Individualist or the Connoisseur. They are the romantic, the artist. Their worldview is kind of yearning and longing and sad. They think my work is affecting and authentic and brings beauty to the world, but something is missing. If only things were different. They're kind of drama queens in some ways, in their average state. Their credo is basically Keats, beauty is truth, truth, beauty. That is all you know on earth and all you need to know. They are dramatic, soulful, artistic, creative people, both women and men. They are people of deep feeling. They are the poets, the artists, the actors, the storytellers, the creatives of society. Their best work environment is where they have an opportunity to express themselves and their art, a setting of heart and soul. And that is not likely to be the case immediately after a grid down collapse. In fact, no one is going to have time for art and poetry when everybody is scrambling to find shelter and food. So you might not think that a 4 would be a good leader in an SHTF situation, yet the balanced and healthy 4 who has worked on herself could be a good leader and a good prepper. I know personally, because one of my best friends is a very healthy 4. This woman lives on and works her very remote land, far away from other people. She takes care of a bunch of farm animals. She grows a garden, a big garden, and she's extremely self-sufficient. She's also a good leader of people. If my area were collapsing, I would try to get to her place. She would make a very good leader for a community because, as all healthy 4s do, she operates on a very accurate feeling-based intuition, and she's rarely wrong. In a grid down situation, hard facts and information may be very difficult to obtain. You may have no facts or no information about what's going on in the world. So intuition may be all you have to rely on. 4s have really good intuition. That could be really valuable to saving your life in an emergency. 4s are unwilling to compromise their vision. So if their vision is a healthy, happy, safe community, then they'll do everything to work for that. A 4's authority, internal authority, comes from what she knows. Her certainty in her truth can be very comforting for others in a scary situation. If you are the leader of a community after SHTF, consider that even though we may dismiss art and poetry, dance and theater, and all of that as unimportant when we are thinking about just struggling simply to survive, remember that eventually, when things settle a little bit, you will absolutely need the 4 people in your tribe to maintain the humanity of your group. If the only meaning in your life is the survival drive to find food and stay warm, stay safe, your community could very well devolve into a very ugly, subhuman, Lord of the Flies struggle with no real meaning but how to get the next meal. That is not ultimately what it means to be human. In a long-term grid down societal collapse, you will need at least 1-4 in your group to remind you of what makes life worth living: beauty and truth, art and soul and heart and feeling. Every Paleolithic tribe had their shaman, their storyteller, their magician. It is a very important role long-term for humanity. The 7. The 7 is probably the least likely to be a prepper. The 7 is also called the enthusiast or the energizer. The 7 worldview is, oh, the world is full of exciting possibilities, and my mission is to explore all of them. Their credo is, if life gives you lemons, make lemonade. But the sort of pie in the sky perspective of the average 7 generally prevents them from putting their nose to the grindstone long enough to turn those lemons into lemonade under suddenly harsh conditions. 7s are all about having fun, about adventure, about novelty. They love to brainstorm. They're creative. They're flexible. They tend to be informal, but they don't like line responsibility. They want to be free. Don't pin them down. 7s are the busy, fun-loving types. They're spontaneous, versatile, sometimes scattered, sometimes they are dilettantes. 7s love to keep their options open, but options in an SHTF situation generally become dramatically reduced, don't they? This is very hard on 7s. The reason 7s are not likely to be preppers is because they are all about focusing on the positive. And in their average or unhealthy state, they run from pain. They do not want to think about problems, about pain. They do not face negative possibilities if they can possibly help it. 7s have a basic fear of being trapped in pain. And it seems to me that pain is pretty much the actual reality daily in a grid down situation. 7s tend to be Pollyannas. Everything is going to work out. Everything is for the best. Let's think only of the best. Let's work only for the best. Let's expect only the best. They are the ones, the average and unhealthy ones, they are the ones who are most likely to sort of poo-poo and dismiss the person who's a prepper. Oh, that's not going to happen. Don't be so negative. You create your reality. What you think about tends to come about. Think positive. 7s typically, average 7s, healthy 7s are different, but average 7s, the average 7 you will meet, they don't have very much prudence in them. Prudence is not appealing to them. In their unhealthy state, they have a very short attention span and very poor follow through. They tend to be big picture planners of great things. They tend to be charming and impulsive. They can formulate a vision and they can communicate it beautifully with charisma, but they are generally not that good at holding their attention on that thing and following it through to completion, which is usually what's needed in an emergency. They resist being pinned down by what they think of as drudge work without a way out. They feel trapped by that. And when you think about it, that is exactly what is happening often in a grid down scenario. A lot of drudge work, a lot of pain, a lot of restriction and no way out. These people are not good at that. Sevens feel that they're good if they can get what they need. And in a societal collapse, they will very likely not be getting what they think they need. And they will suddenly be forced to face their pain along with all the new harsh realities around them. However, if you are a leader of a community, the seven can be useful to you because they are brilliant thinkers and incredible visionaries. They are the imaginative, creative ones who can brainstorm wildly and come up with scenarios that you would not have thought of in a million years, which, when you think about it, is a talent that could be very useful when options seem limited. Sevens like to take what other people consider to be insoluble problems, and they like to come up with solutions because they find that interesting. Don't expect them, though, to be the ones who actually do the hard physical work through to completion. That's not their thing. From this description, you might think that sevens would not make good leaders, but there are always exceptions. I have a good friend who is a seven, and I know her well, and I think she would indeed be a very fine leader in an emergency. She stays positive. She thinks quickly on her feet. Like most sevens, she's very smart. So any individual, as long as they are to some degree self-actualized, any individual of any of these types could be a good leader. It's the average and unhealthy ones of any type that you need to watch out for. The nine. The nine is also called the mediator or the peacemaker. Their worldview is that everything will work out if we just stay calm and friendly and connected. Their credo is, let it be, flow with the river. Their basic ego fear is of loss, separation from others, and annihilation, which you would think would drive them to become a prepper, but they also have a certain ability to go numb to negative possibilities. Typically, they are very set in their ways, and they don't want those ways to be disrupted. They don't want to think about what's going to happen when their ways are disrupted. And that's what an SHTF situation is, your ways disrupted. The nine's basic desire is to maintain their inner stability and peace of mind. Nines could be described as sweetly stagnant. They can drive you crazy with their sweet, polite stonewalling. Thinking about prepping brings up an anxiety in the nine, which they tend to avoid. They are the original go with the flow people. Nines are typically not the ones who care about being successful or about making things happen like the three. They don't seek to be leaders like the eight. They don't want to see the potential hidden problems like the six. They don't tend to gather information like the five. They are not in touch with their feelings like the four. We're talking about the average nine now. They ask, who was it? Rodney King, who said, why can't we all just get along? That's the nine. Why can't we all just get along? They're very stressed when people do not get along. Some people, like the three and the eight, rise to the occasion under tremendously stressful conditions, but nines become the most stressed when conditions around them are stressful, when people are upset or freaked out or confrontational or fighting, when things seem to be falling apart. The nines are the people who want peace at any price. In a SHTF situation, there is not much peace. These are the people who are easygoing, self-effacing, agreeable, and sometimes very complacent. They will not mock a prepper because they never make fun of anyone. They're very kind typically, but they are less likely to be a prepper because their basic focus often tends to be a bit apathetic, a bit lazy, a bit resistant to change, indecisive, a little stubborn. Nines are completely creatures of habit. They just want life to go on as it is. Nobody to fight, nothing challenging to happen. In an emergency, sometimes they totally freeze up. They are not good with competition or competitive situations, nor are they good with pressure or deadlines. They like settings that are stable and predictable, with clear delineation of responsibilities, mutually supportive, and very low conflict. Since this is not how post-collapse communities typically go, nines can be exceptionally stressed in these situations of emergency, unless they are particularly emotionally healthy. If you are leading a community after SHTF, a reasonably healthy nine could be a tremendous asset to your group because they are all about peace and harmony, unity. They are all about team spirit, about fairness, about selflessness. And they are always looking for the least disruptive alternative to any problem. They tend to see all sides of a situation. They are the best mediators and negotiators, and they intuitively know how to get a disparate, disagreeing group of people to a point of harmony and agreement. They are people of goodwill. They're slow and steady. They are a willing part of the pack, supporting and encouraging everyone else. They have an amazing ability to create balance, which could be an important talent in a tense, grid down situation. Nines don't seek the limelight, but they will lead if they have to. A healthy, self-actualized nine can be a very good leader. Dwight Eisenhower, Ronald Reagan, Queen Elizabeth, these are all nines. Nines don't impose a rigid agenda on their group like ones. They don't create, like fives do, a problem-solving framework, but they are rather responsive to the big picture and to the totality of a situation, to all the players in a setting. And there you have the summary of who would be preppers, who would be good leaders in a shit hits the fan situation. If you would like more information about people getting along and doing well in stressful situations, please let us know. We'll be happy to share with you. Say goodbye, Debbie. Mwah.